Hello and welcome to the Somewhat Daily Backup for Monday, the 7th of December. I am your host, Nick Boy Richardson. I am joined by Peter the Woodsman Burns, and I don't trust clocks anymore.
You don't trust what? Sorry, cops?
Clocks anymore.
Oh, I thought I was going to say, welcome to the club.
Wait, what did you think I said?
Cops.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, clocks are full of shit.
It was only at the end of 2020 that I was like, hang on a second.
You know what? Something's wrong. Something's going wrong over here.
I've pressed the wrong thing on my... Here we go. That's what I was looking for. Welcome, everybody, to the Somewhat Daily Backup. We hope you've had yourself a lovely weekend. We hope you've had a good one. Or at least I do. I assume Peter does. Pete's actually a pretty nice guy.
I don't really care. I mean,
there you go. Pete's actually a really nice guy. I don't really care.
Of course, I hope you had a nice weekend.
Did you have a nice weekend, Peter Burns?
I had a lovely weekend. Stephanie and I went to the Hunter Valley with Scardy. And
that's right.
We had lots of vino. We met Avexia and Brainstorm. They were great.
They were good?
They were great. They were about to go and do some Christmas shopping, and Avexia bought a Millennium Falcon Lego for like an astronomical amount of money and is now building it.
Oh, that's exciting.
And the real reason we were there was to meet my sister's new boyfriend.
Oh,
he's lovely. He works he works at a cellar door. He's a worldly man and wine. So I said marry him. Because I want wine.
I want wine. I should marry him.
You could. There's still hope for you.
There is. You're right. I'm not married. I could get out of this whenever I want. It's that easy. Okay, that's exciting. Good for her. Love your sister. She's a lovely person. She deserves all the happiness / wine in the world.
Absolutely, she does.
I had something to say about.
Yeah, what did you do on your weekend?
What did I do on my weekend? Oh, we actually went out for a lovely breakfast at there's a fantastic cafe near us that is like on the water. It's like a beach shacky style thing. So we went there, had a huge breakfast, and then went to the beach right next door. And so I hung out at the beach, which was great. Awesome. So it was a very nice weekend. It was a lovely one. There's the door, Nick. Head for it, says Spazros. Well, I mean, look, I have to figure out what to do with the kids. But other than that, there's nothing holding me back. Okay, let's jump into the news. Speaking of nothing holding us back, is there anything else that we need to cover before this?
Oh, is there something that we cover before we go into the news? Every time we do the news, is it perhaps that we call out something or someone or someones?
I think it's someone's. We need to shout out our patron, Pocketeer Extraordinaire. I completely forgot the name. It's
because it's a stupid name.
Pocketeer Patron Extraordinaire. It really is. But I mean, if anyone has a better name for it, please suggest.
Pete's Perfect Pocketeer. I'll slap my name on that.
Do you like that?
I can't believe this is the first you've heard of this. We've told you this before. We devised this alternate name many moons ago. It was even in the script before you removed it from the script.
It's not that I removed it from the script. It's that you didn't change the default script, so therefore it never got replaced. Okay. Catch up, Nick. All right, shut up, everyone. Peter Perfect Pocketeer today is Jasmine Hepworth. Jasmine, may you never leave a major studio only to return to help them out of a massive jam that they're in, only then to remember, oh yeah, there was a reason I left this studio in the first place, and then leave again. So I hope that never happens.
Nice foreshadowing.
Yeah, I know.
Well, that's all going to make sense very soon.
There is. There's a story about sneezing today. Jasmine, thank you very much for your patronage and being a part of our Patreon. If you want to become a patron of this fine show, then head to patreon.com/backpocket and help us out. Toss a little coin to your Witcher boys. Are we Witcher boys?
No. Sure.
Well, I reckon at some point Steph said to you, dress up like Geralt. There's no way that hasn't happened.
Because she knows how disappointing I would ruin the fantasy.
That's true, actually. It's like you would meme it somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, it would just be like this soft boy non-mutant. And she'd be like, oh, well, Geralt sucks.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I only like mutants. Someone who has to be a mutant because no one is this smart just normally is the person who brings you the Somewhat Daily Backup every single Monday and Wednesday. And that is Tim. Get your exclamation marks out in the chat for Tim, because he brings you the backup, and Tim also brings you the Learn Programming Academy. Head to lpa.dev/backpocket to learn about programming. Program yourself a boyfriend that looks like Geralt.
Or a boyfriend that can produce wine with code.
Oh, definitely do that. Definitely do that.
If Jesus does come again, he will code water into wine.
Yeah.
He'll work out some digital way of creating wine.
Well, because if he does that, he doesn't need to be there every time it has to happen.
Yeah, he can just write a script and it can auto run.
Yeah, it's that whole thing that we were talking about last week is if your company can't run without you, you don't own a company, you have a job. And that's what Jesus has a job, and Jesus' job is turning water into wine. No. I think we could all say that Jesus has been through enough. So, let's just he needs to kick back. And so, Jesus, if you're watching, head to the Learn Programming Academy and get Tim to help you out by teaching you programming. Tim's courses are all video based. They are 20 minutes or less. They're mainly under $20. I think. Wait, did I make up 20 minutes or less? I think I may have.
Yeah.
I think at some point I've conflated $20 and 20. Most courses are $20 or less. They're easy to watch at all skill levels, and you can even watch them offline on your phone. So maybe they're not. Maybe they're like 4 hours long.
I think they're value for money is what they are.
You're right. The longer, the better, because most of them are under $20. And so that's how Tim rolls. And so, Tim, you are saving a lot of the work for our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Okay, good. That did not go in the place that I expected that would go a minute and a half ago when we started that ad read. No. I'll tell you what, there's a couple of other people who their life didn't turn out the way that they were expecting, and that is Casey Hudson and Mark Dara from Mass Effect and Dragon Age, the studio heads from BioWare, have resigned from the company, and in Casey Hudson's case, again. Electronic Arts have announced that BioWare General Manager Casey Hudson and Dragon Age Executive Producer Mark Dara both left the studio. Laura Meal, I think it's Meal. Laura Meal, EA's Chief Studio Officer, said that Samantha Ryan will continue to oversee the project, while the in-development Dragon Age project will now be headed up by BioWare Austin Studio Director Christian Daly. Hudson said in a statement of his own that the decision was a tough one and came with, quote, a certain degree of sadness. But I also know this is a good time for change, both for myself and BioWare. And then Dara also expressed similar sentiments, quote, this has been a very difficult decision for me. The team of amazing developers on Dragon Age, they make my life fuller and better. They've taught me so much, but the strength of the team is also what makes this possible. I know that Dragon Age just won't survive without me. It will thrive. Peter, what's wrong with BioWare?
I don't think there's anything wrong with BioWare. I just think
Have you played any of their games recently?
They haven't released any games recently. Isn't that the point? Is that the joke you were making?
Well, no. Well, like Andromeda and then Anthem.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
that's fair.
And then, yes, fair, and then also you double burned it, so that went well.
Yeah. These people that have been there for a very long time and they want to walk away, I don't think that's abnormal. And I imagine that they're doing it at a point in the development of Dragon Age and the Mass Effect remaster where they're confident that the ship is sailing in the right direction and it's a good time for someone new to come in with still enough time before release to kind of take the reins properly and not feel like, oh God, we're like rushing towards the finish line. So I feel like it's probably like, it probably makes sense for the studio. If people are going to leave, now is a good time for them to leave. I don't
know, like the fact that they don't have a successor in place for Casey Hudson, he means he dropped this on them. He was just like, nah, I'm out. Like there's no path to find a new GM and a handing over of the reins. Like these guys have dropped and walked away. I feel like
You reckon?
it's like, because they announced that Samantha Ryan will continue to oversee the studio. She's the studio officer, so she's not the general manager. They're now on the hunt for a general manager, and they've said they've got some good candidates lined up, but like they didn't have someone confirmed.
Yeah.
And then also, did you see the voiceover thing? Did you see this? The a Dragon Age voiceover actor, like lashed out on Twitter. So Greg Ellis, the guy who played Dragon Age's Anders and Cullen, took to Twitter to attack Mark and said, replied to Mark's tweet where he said, I'm out. And he said, it's a relief for many others. I've worked with you for over 10 years as the voice of Cullen and Anders, and I've never worked with a more disloyal, duplicitous corporate fake. Your enforced resignation is a victory for BioWare, its employees, and particularly the fans. And so then Mark quote tweeted him and said, "Hey there, Greg. I've been letting you slide for a while, but I think Dragon Age Day is maybe the day when that ends. Is there some world where you imagine that your behavior with regards to me and the community in general would actually cause you to ever be hired on a Dragon Age game? I'm not sure if this is performative in some way in order to get attention of it for a different group, but it certainly isn't going to endear you to a company that cares about public appearances." And then
fight.
And then Greg Collins tweeted out that he was like about his inspiration, that he goes, that Dara goes on to suggest that Ellis's behavior towards him could bar him from ever working with BioWare again. Ellis has fallen out of favor with some fans for his support of US President Donald Trump, and tweeted out that I'm drawn to out-of-the-box thinkers like Jordan B. Peterson, Kanye West, and the Rubin Report. And you're just like, oh, this guy's having a public friggin' meltdown, which I shouldn't laugh about, but
yeah, they're out-of-the-box thinkers because they're just totally in the dumpster thinkers.
Yeah, totally. So I don't know whether or not the forced resignation, if there's anything behind that. I do think it just seems weird that they've both left quite suddenly, and then obviously for Casey Hudson, this was the second time that he's left because he'd left.
Yeah, he left in like 2014 to head up Microsoft Game Studios as like creative director. And he was there for 3 years or 4 years.
He came back in 2017.
Yeah, so then and then straight back into BioWare as like the fucking head of everything. Yeah, the head of everything.
And I feel like if you're the head of everything for 3 years in a major studio like BioWare, and then you're like, no, I need to peace out, then everything is not right. Like, particularly with the thing that Dara said about how that the Dragon Age won't survive without me, it will thrive. I don't know. I think you could read something into that of the fact that there's just like creative differences between himself and other people, I guess.
Totally. And I think it's interesting that they're living together because we're kind of pairing them, but I feel like they probably have different. I mean, of course, they have different reasons for leaving, even though they've like got similar reasons for leaving. And I think Hudson, I can empathize with the idea that he's been offered this role at BioWare, a company that he loves and has a history with, that is like basically running the show.
Yep.
And how could you say no to that? Totally. He says yes to it, and then he's given it 3 years of a red hot go and realized, I'm an executive producer now. I'm not making anything. I'm making big creative calls, but not getting my hands dirty. And like, we see that happen in TV with people we know all the time. It's like someone gets promoted to a series producer or an executive producer, and they're like, I hate television. Because I'm not doing anything other than like making sure the systems are all working. Or
more likely than that, like dealing with investors and money people and like executives, like TV, obviously, but with this as well, that you become responsible for real headache shit as opposed to just like, okay, how can we make this the best thing we can with the resources we have? It's like trying to get those resources in the first place, which is a much different job.
Absolutely.
So we'll see. I mean, look, BioWare is just not publicly being in a great spot for a very long time. I think they got a bit of goodwill back with the idea that the new Mass Effect that's coming, the Mass Effect trilogy that's been remastered. They're obviously heads down on the work for Anthem, except for the fact that Christian Daly, who is taking over Dragon Age, was actually the person in charge of the Anthem rework as well. Yeah. So now Anthem is going to need to get someone new to... do we need M&Ms?
Coke.
We do need Coke?
Yeah.
Now Anthem is going to be the thing that is that's going to need to find someone new. Though I do believe that there's a voiceover artist who's probably looking for a job, so that might be something that he would be interested in. We will see what happens with BioWare, and we'll see a little more from BioWare very soon, because off the back of this, somewhat underwhelming, I suppose now, Dragon Age 4, BioWare announced that there's more news about Dragon Age 4 will be coming at the Game Awards next Thursday. December 4th has been designated as Dragon Age Day, which happened a couple of days ago, and this was when a lot of this drama went down. And as part of that, BioWare had posted 4 Dragon Age short stories that each had their own art on their website, and then these short stories were then accompanied with a post that said they're helping paint the picture for the future of Dragon Age, and then there will be some insight into the next reveal at the Game Awards, airing on December 10th at 4 p.m. PT. Yeah, what do you reckon we're seeing? How in depth are we going with this?
I think we're probably going to see another, like a story trailer that is still quite like disconnected, but more than that 2018 one, which was like just panning shots of like 3D assets.
Yeah.
This will be like establishing the time, the world. These stories, the short stories, did you ever read of them? I had a quick read of them this morning.
I didn't actually have a read. I bookmarked them though to have a look later. Where
they're only like 2-minute reads.
I don't have 2 minutes.
Yeah. They're little vignettes of like world and age building, I guess. And it's like, it's hard to separate it from other fantasy, because I haven't really played a lot of Dragon Age, but it's like,
oh, that's right.
It's very much a like, okay, what's it? It feels like The Last Jedi's casino world. It's like,
oh right,
there's that, and then there's some fantasy happening elsewhere. Like we're seeing this card dealer here.
In a bad way?
No. I love Last Jedi. This is like, it's basically D&D, right? That's the vibes I was getting. But they were cool little like vignettes of like, here's how ghouls exist in this world, and here's a drunk man at a casino, and here's people playing cards in a back room.
Yeah, cool.
So it's all quite like, I mean, this art is like almost gothic.
The art was surprising to me, because particularly that last picture we were just looking at there, I feel like that looked a little less like what we've seen from Dragon Age in the past. That looks a little more sort of like thiefy, like all this sort of stuff has more of a sort of urban feel, which obviously there were cities in Dragon Age, but it always had a bit of that sort of like high fantasy classic style, whereas this I like the idea of like creeping around on rooftops or something as being
totally.
Yeah,
you've read Lies of Locke Lamora, yeah?
That's exactly what I was thinking, actually. Yeah, it's Gentleman Thief 100% of the way. So I would love if there was something of a pivot to that. I think that while I really do enjoy high fantasy, I just feel like it's everywhere. The sort of like just the elves and trolls and dwarves, and we're all the kings, and we're on the thing to save the world and blah, blah, blah. I just feel like it's done so often. And even with new magic systems and new world building and all that sort of stuff, I do wish that we took fantasy games. I think that's why I like Dishonored as a series so much, that it takes these sort of fantasy tropes and puts them in sort of like gothic-y urban cities. Yeah, that whole steampunk thing going on. There's like rats, and this whole thing about how we harvest whales. Like that sort of stuff is really interesting, and I would love a big game like Dragon Age, like a massive franchise, to really take a swing at something that is outside the realms of what we traditionally consider to be a fantasy game.
Yeah, and I think like, because you're totally right. There's like, you can confuse D&D with basically anything. Like
totally,
you know, like that's and apologies to D&D nerds, but like that's the most like generic modern fantasy. It's because it is the core of like, you know, obviously it's come from Tolkien and like the old myths and stuff, but it's like become the branch, like it's become the tree trunk and everything branches off that.
Yeah.
And so everything just feels like a slight variation of Neverwinter, where, yeah, when something goes a little harder in a different direction, like a Dishonored or even a BioShock in a way, which has obviously more kind of like, is more grounded in our reality. It feels different. Which, it'd be cool to see Dragon Age go there. But Dragon Age already has an established world. So I think the only way they can do that is by going like, okay, this fantasy world exists, but look at this city and everything that's happening in this fantasy world happens in here. Like, which means that you're getting exposed to different parts of how the world works, like a different style of economies and class systems and stuff like that based on a city environment as opposed to like a global fantasy kind of like sprawling thing.
Totally. And I mean, obviously there are just limits to the amount of stuff that you can create and amount of world that you want to sort of build. But, you know, in real life, the way that we live in Australia is very different to the way that people live in Iran, which is very different in the way that people live in Nigeria, and that's very different to the way that people live in France. So I think that you can go, we're still in the same world, but we're just in, like you said, we're just in this different space. And actually, you can really just go hard on the idea that this space is very different, particularly if stuff like magic exists, which is basically just super technology. You can go, well, magic has allowed this city to grow in this way, and therefore the people there are completely different than, So I would be excited for something like that. I agree with you. I think we're seeing a story trailer or a story teaser. I think we're probably getting like a shot of a main character and some more idea of like setting. But I don't think we're seeing gameplay yet. I think we're still too far out for that.
Yeah. I mean, they have no lead.
They have no lead. No one's making that decision. Maybe we are seeing gameplay. Maybe they're just like, toss it all in. No one's actually making a decision here. We'll put it all there and see what happens.
This is all we got.
The Game Awards coming so fast.
Totally.
Next week, so we'll find out. We'll find out more then. Someone who is excited, who got an award of his very own, Neil Druckman, has been named co-president of Naughty Dog. Something that, in my head, happened 10 years ago. Naughty Dog have announced that Neil Druckman will be promoted to co-president of Free, and Christian Geerling will also serve as vice presidents of Naughty Dog. So there's now like at least 3 vice presidents. But Druckman, who co-created The Last of Us with former Naughty Dog director Bruce Stratley, has led the direction of Naughty Dog's biggest games over the last 10 years. And this includes as creative director on The Last of Us, Uncharted 4: A Thief's End, and The Last of Us Part 2. So, I mean, he is, for all intents and purposes, the brain of Naughty Dog right now.
Yeah, totally. And he's also the face. He's got a lot of pressure. He's the face of Naughty Dog as well. Like totally. He's the most active on Twitter. He's the one that's getting death threats for making video games. And standing behind his team and stuff. So he has felt in the public eye like the head of the company for quite some time.
I completely was like, oh wait, this guy isn't already at least up there. He's still just like, I mean, creative lead is a very big deal, obviously, but yeah, he is who you think of when you think of Naughty Dog. I feel like
totally, or Arnie Meyer, that other beautiful beast, bearded man.
Yes,
yeah, like it's interesting with game studios how I guess it makes a lot of sense how. And I guess we're kind of just touching on this with like executive producers and stuff like that, how creatives end up at the director role and not necessarily like business people. And, you know, they've got CFOs and they've got people to like, they've got the rest of that network there. But it's good to have obviously someone who's it's great for Sony. This is great for Sony more than anyone else to go like, Neil Druckman is the head of one of our owned studios. And is going to keep making stuff that you guys will continue to love, and he will have creative control over everything that happens in it. So,
totally,
yeah.
And I do think that it's one of those situations where, I mean, with zero insider knowledge whatsoever, but being promoted to co-president is kind of both an acknowledgement of everything that he's done, but also the idea that, well, as opposed to potentially the Casey Hudson situation where you come in and you go, okay, like I'm the general manager, I'm now responsible for how this thing runs. You've still got the president. You've still got the vice presidents of Naughty Dog. He's probably just coming in as like, this is the be all and end all when it comes to creative decisions within this company. So like he is deciding the creative way forward for Naughty Dog, but he's probably not the person who's sitting in investor meetings going, hey,
how do we find the money to make this?
Exactly. Yeah. Because they've never had that meeting in their life since they made Crash Bandicoot. They've just gone, we have the money to make this. So let's just do whatever.
Crash Team Racing. I mean, they were just flooded with cash after that.
I mean, it's just, well, that you have to be flooded with Crash to make Crash Team Racing. That it's just like, all right, we just figure that is, this is a good idea and we're just going to do it.
A way to pay a smaller tax bill this year is to pour money into this thing.
Except, fairly certain Crash Team Racing, they didn't make.
Did they do the first one? I thought they did.
Did they do the first one?
I don't know anything about Crash.
We're just making dumb jokes about Crash Team Racing. Yeah, I mean, look, you're not wrong there. Still waiting for Uncharted, said the Melodic Storm. Oh, that's a great name.
Oh,
I haven't seen them before, but I'd play the shit.
There's totally a sequence in one of the Uncharted games where you like have to push someone around in a trolley cart as well, isn't there? Maybe not.
No, but there's that motorbike chase in the fourth one.
Mm. We're looking at a bit of that.
We're looking at it right now.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if you put not Nathan Fillion, how have I forgotten his name? Drake. Nathan Drake in some sort of karting game. It would just be everyone's dropping bananas and he would just be headshotting Toad and Princess Peach and just like
going, no.
Boom. So there you go. Well done, Neil Druckman. You deserve all the successes that you have coming your way. Someone else who is very successful, and I love this story. Metal Gear Solid, the Metal Gear movie, has cast their Solid Snake, and that Solid Snake is, drumroll please, Oscar Isaac. Woo! What a choice! Oh boy, do you like this? I love this.
Yeah. I'm being a bit of a downer today, but I have no affection for the Metal Gear series. It's awful. but Oscar Isaac is a great actor, and definitely I think will look the part. He's I'll just cross to the moment in a interview for Triple Frontier, which was like a very forgettable Netflix movie where he plays a soldier, and it was like.
This was last year.
Yeah, where he kind of said that he was keen to do it.
Oh, that's the one I'm really? Yeah, I'm throwing my hat in for that one. Who'd you play? Snake, man. It's very video Metal Gear Solid. That's the one I'm really? Yeah, I'm throwing my hat in for that one. Who'd you play? Snake, man.
It's amazing. He even has the beard with a bit of grey in it. Like he's ready to, I'm surprised he didn't have an eye patch on during this interview to just really sell that he wants this.
Name a bad Oscar Isaac role. He's been phenomenal in everything he's been in.
I don't think you can. You can probably name a bad Oscar Isaac movie, but in terms of role, no. Yeah. Like even he was even good as you can be in that awful X-Men movie.
Oh yeah,
what was that terrible? Apocalypse. Where he was like,
he was great.
Where he was Apocalypse, and he was just like buried under makeup, but it's still like you're the best part of this movie.
Yep.
The first time I saw him in anything was in Drive, and I was just like, this guy is amazing. And this is a movie with
Ryan Cranston.
The other guy, who Ryan Gosling. Yeah. And I'm compelled by you. But the guy, I mean, you got Metal Gear, you've got Dune, you've got Star Wars. Like the guy is just kicking goals in terms of getting these roles.
Inside Llewyn Davis is great if you haven't seen it.
He's very, very good.
A depressing Coen Brothers film, but worth it.
So that is, so there's not too much more movement on the film. It's in development with Sony. Jordan Vogt-Roberts is on board to direct, but that's about as far as we've gotten. Deadline broke the story overnight. And but I think, good casting. He's fantastic. He's got that sort of like grizzled thing down.
Totally.
Obviously, he's a bit younger than we've seen Snake. He's kind of like mid-aged Snake in terms of the games. Like, he's not Metal Gear Solid age, and he's not Metal Gear 5.
Yeah.
So
I thought it's Metal Gear 5 is Solid, 4 is Solid Snake, 5 is Big Boss / Venom Snake.
Okay, so 4. Well, he's not even 4.
That's why we even have.
He's not. He's not
the
old
same
enough
character model.
Yeah. I wonder where they're going to start the story on this one. Like, where do you come in?
Yeah. I don't know. It's such a confused timeline. And characters like Big Mama. Who's going to be Big Mama?
Do you think
the DNA of the Metal Gear is so in Death Stranding? It's so fun to see that he's been insane as a storyteller ever since day one.
Totally. It's interesting. I mean, I don't feel like they ever would have, but Metal Gear as a series, as a game, defined by the cinematic and storytelling, I don't want to say expertise, but I don't even want to say skill, but voice of Kojima, that for there to be a film which is like, I've always thought that we've had this conversation where he makes video games just because these are the only movies he's allowed to make. And so the fact that he's not involved with directing of this, I think, is a sensible decision on behalf of Sony Pictures, but is probably a bit gutting to Kojima himself.
Yeah, totally. And it's like, absolutely, but the man needs an editor. And if he has some kind of input in the story, which is like, it's a meeting that the director and he have 6 months before they even start thinking about writing, that's about as much input as he needs on that. The director,
except for the fact that meeting would end 6 months later and they would already be behind.
Vogt-Roberts did the Kong Skull Island, which was actually like a pretty exciting. He did two festival films, and then Kong Skull Island, and that's all he's done. And Kong Skull Island is like a good first big feature. It's not a perfect film, but it was a lot of fun.
It's not a bad film at all, and it has some phenomenal imagery in it as well. Like in terms of it really nailed that sort of like Vietnam Kong movie via a Vietnam story.
Totally.
Cool.
This is people have like put pictures of Oscar Isaac next to Snake, and like the bone structure doesn't need to be perfect, but it's pretty damn close with like the features here. Like it'll be an easy 1-to-1.
That's great. That's great. Great casting. Well done, Oscar Isaac. You continue to be just one of the best people in Hollywood. In slightly sadder news for fans of a different kind of war game, Call of Duty Warzone Season 1 delayed by 1 week. There's not too much to add to this story, but Activision have delayed the Season 1 update for Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War and Call of Duty Warzone. That was supposed to come out on the 10th, which, of course, is the Cyberpunk release day. It is now being pushed back to the 16th. Activision said, quote, "It's an unprecedented amount of free content, and the teams are currently prepping for the biggest Season 1 launch we've ever seen. For this to occur, we're taking a few more days to finalize everything before unleashing this massive drop of new free content to the community." I don't know
You're
about
a pro COD player.
I'm a huge COD fan now. I was so excited by this news.
The fact that there is a week.
The fact that there is a week,
yeah, cool.
So that I can hit my first prestige. I will have time to hit my first prestige.
Nice. Particularly
because they've said that to sort of like as a make peace with the community ahead of the 16th release date, Treyarch is turning on double XP and double weapon XP from the 10th to the 16th. Nice. So it's like for every day that goes by where we haven't given you the content we told you we would, we're just going to give you double XP instead.
Is there a benefit of prestiging before the new season?
So
the benefit
with the new
season anyway.
So the one it's hard to pass the information on this. There's a lot of info. Yeah. They're playing quite cagey with how this works. My understanding, and I could be wrong about this, but my understanding is that when the new season comes, they are conflating Warzone, Modern Warfare, and Black Ops. The multiplayer levels, your multiplayer progression, all goes into one. And in order to do that, they are resetting it all to 0. But you are not losing anything you've unlocked. So you keep everything you've unlocked, but your thing goes back to 0. I have seen a couple of people say actually what they're doing is just bringing it all to Black Ops, whatever your level in Black Ops is. But the thing that is retained is that if they are resetting everything, if you prestige, it keeps your prestige. So the first time you've prestiged, it'll keep it. So I'm at level 38. So I've put in the time to get to 38. Prestige is like 52 or 55 or something. So it's like, well, I either lose all those levels and have to build back up to prestige, or I do another 10 levels prestige, and then sort of like when they reset, it doesn't reset my prestige link. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't make sense.
but it does at the end of the day, you just look cooler because you've got a prestige ×1 next to your name.
Totally. And I don't lose anything that I've unlocked, which is what always used to happen when you prestige and you lose all that shit and have to build it up again. Yeah. It's like, what's the point of this? Yeah. So they're giving the double XP. They're also giving 2 bundles out from the 8th to the 15th, Field Research and Certified are the name of those. And they're like weapon charms, blueprints, and operator skins. It's assumed that this is because they need a little more time. There's also the Cyberpunk thing about whether or not you want to go up against that game.
Yeah. So it was initially coming out
on Cyberpunk Day on the 10th.
End of this week. Yeah. Right. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. But I don't know. The thing I was going to say is, it just seems like we're seeing more and more a trend of people delaying their shit right up against the release day.
You mean like individually, not against a release day of Cyberpunk, like.
Yes, yeah. I feel like we're seeing these delays come in so much closer to release than we're used to see. Where it was like, oh, we're due out in 6 months, but actually we're going to push in another one. Like, these games are getting released relatively close to when they're supposed to be out, and oftentimes are bumped. I mean, Halo being a classic example that is tired now, but that was supposed to be out in 2 months or whatever from when they announced the release, and then they're like, we've bumped it to just sometime in the future. The COD thing is like, well, this is 4 days before this is supposed to come out, we need another week. I don't know if it's just how this stuff's working, the work from home stuff.
It must just be that they are like that they're working to like the same. They're working right up to the wire. Yeah. So they have to make those calls the week of kind of thing. Yeah. Which sucks for them as developers. Like, it's not really, it's no big loss for us really.
Still get it.
Yeah. It's, I guess, frustrating for people who have like booked time off or whatever. Like for Cyberpunk, if you'd kind of like tried to take annual leave for 2 weeks around the release date and it moved, that would suck. But there aren't many of us doing that. And as far as like COD being impacted by Cyberpunk, there's definitely crossover, but as like a season pass, I don't think that's got really anything to do with it. Like, the people who are playing COD are going to keep playing COD around Cyberpunk.
Yeah. You could argue that there's like it's almost counter programming, like when horror movies released up against like a massive comedy or something. It's like, well, if you're not into this, then you just go see that one. And I think it probably is a legit reason. And Nicritex, who obviously works with software, in the chat says it's so hard to anticipate problems with software. You can't just know how long it'll take to hunt something down and fix a bug that someone just found. So, totally. Probably what's happening there. The only thing is that with something like Cyber, I feel like there are games like Call of Duty, FIFA, Madden, these titles where you go, these are like the things that sell systems to people who only play that game. This is the thing that most of the people in your life who like, there are so many people in the world who play video games who just play those games, and it's just like, oh, this is just something I do to unwind. And you're like, hang on a second, you haven't, like, I've gone to people's houses, I'm like, why do you have an Xbox? And they're like, oh, I play Call of Duty. It's like, oh, really? How have we never had this conversation before?
Yeah, or FIFA, or one of those things is really like in the zeitgeist, broader than like nerd culture. They're just like, oh, everyone plays FIFA, everyone plays COD. It's like,
and I feel like Cyberpunk could be just pushing up against that in terms of just it's still a gamer's game, but like in the zeitgeist of this is one of those huge titles that if you're the person who just plays FIFA and Call of Duty, Cyberpunk might be the third game you buy this year. And so whether there's a bit of hesitance there, but I think I agree with you that COD's big enough that COD can stand by itself.
Yeah, totally.
And then we've got two last quick stories here, both fun ones. Well, one's fun and one's horrible. The first one, the fun one, Doom 2 level, based on Designer's House. So Doom designer Sandy Peterson released a video on his YouTube channel showing that Doom 2 level 16, the map of that Doom level, is actually based on the floor plan of his house that he was building 20 odd years ago. And he sort of takes us on a tour through his house, and you just see how it's like, it's a one-to-one in terms of layout. And I feel like this is a great cheat, that if you've already got blueprints.
Yeah. Did the architect of this building get a cut? That's what I want to know.
That's what I want to
know. Because that's their IP.
Totally. I do think that he was stressed that he designed the house.
Yes.
So
yeah, he did stress that. When I was building my house, I had the floor plans for this, so it was like, you can see like down to the library. They just put a library in there. Is there any part you want to upside? You had a quick skim through, didn't you?
I watched it. No, nothing in particular. He just walks through and just says, "Come out," and this is happens here. The one interesting
this
part,
bit's funny.
Which I always told my wife was.
It was like,
oh, that's right. Yeah, where he
microwave is my wife's eyes.
Yeah, the microwave has his red eyes there, and I always told my wife that it was her. And if you shoot her in the eyes, then it opens up this door, and you can get a gun in the bathroom. And then the other interesting thing is he's talking about these stairs here. That obviously the house has a second floor, but in Doom, he's like, well, it wasn't a 3D game. It was like a 1.5D game. So you couldn't actually go up those stairs, but they just put them there anyway. But yeah, I just think this is just a cute idea. And one of those things that you go, I don't know, as you're playing through a game, you just go, oh yeah, this is just the world of that space. And then to see how this world is actually just a man's house is such a fun spin on it. Also, epic library.
Totally. That's insane. Like, hang on, let me take us back to that library because
it's a great, like, look at the shelving. My God.
Yeah. Look at that.
So jealous. I mean, low ceiling. He needs higher ceilings, but other than that, phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, I think he's got a mezzanine.
Yes, I think he probably does. I also like at some point he says the room up the back. He was like, we didn't include the games room, and he points in. And there's like a desk there with a light, but then a lot of like video game toys and statues and stuff. And I was like, your entire house is a games room. Like every corner of your house is filled with games memorabilia. Like, don't pretend that that's the room where you play video games.
It's quite a cute little walkthrough. Sandy of Cthulhu, I think, is his channel name.
And then he also says that his parents' house is in there as well, and that's what he finishes the video off, is a little tour of that as being another level. So yeah, I'm sure there's tons of stories like this in video games where people just go, oh yeah, it was just easier to design my house and put some demons in it.
If the house on the hill in The Last of Us is a replica of Neil Druckman's house and that came out, half of the internet would be like, fucking lazy designers, this guy's a hack.
That's so true. That's so true. This guy puts it out. It's like, fuck, this is the best story ever. Loki Cat in the chat says Tech 2 engine was a 2.5D engine, and while it did do different elevations, it was impossible to put a floor above another one. So there you go. Cool. And then the final story, terrible story, and I'm sorry that we're ending this one. Very sad that this is something that exists. The Pokemon Company have put out a Pikachu ASMR video. It runs for about 15 minutes, unfortunately. It features the Pikachu sort of like sunlit patio having a lazy afternoon. He sleeps a bit. He plays a little bit. He says things like "pika" and then also "pika pika," and that's about it.
It's also bad ASMR.
Yeah, can we crank the volume on this a little bit and just maybe watch 20 seconds? I mean, this doesn't even count as ASMR because it's
like nothing.
ASMR is technically people making noise.
Pikachu?
So just because it's behind me doesn't make it ASMR.
This fucking thing. Mega.
Pikachu.
That's not ASMR. That's fucking terrifying. You have the volume turned up loud and you're trying to be soothed, and then suddenly a little fucking yellow demon jump attacks you.
Just skipping through.
Pikachu.
Oh, that's pretty good, actually.
Pika?
No, you can't have an orgasm because of Pikachu.
Pikachu! Pika.
I mean, technically, we do see his feet.
Pikachu.
I'm finding this quite soothing.
Pikachu. Pika.
Yeah, no, it's creepy.
No, that's terrible.
It's moved into creepy territory.
So the Pokemon Company recommends earphones for the optimal effect. And if you are looking for more Pokemon ASMR because you're a weirdo, then there is a YouTube playlist that features a Charmander sleeping peacefully by a fire and Squirtle hanging out at the beach.
Squirtle, squirt. There's a little insider tease for it.
I mean, the words used, the face,
I literally
the
just
voice.
said Squirtle, squirt, and that's what Squirtle says. Get some culture in you, Nick boy.
This is just not...
Go and watch hundreds of hours of Pokemon.
I don't understand. This is not ASMR. He is not tapping his fingernails on a microphone.
Yeah.
And like just staring into my eyes and occasionally whispering his Patreon.
Yeah. All right, that's enough, Pikachu.
Okay, that is enough. That's enough, Pikachu, and that's enough news for today. I feel like I'm sorry that we ended on such a disgusting downer, but there, it is the news, and sometimes the news, as you know, has terrible stories that have to be reported for the good of the world. So there you go. That's what we had there.
I want to know why Vesuvius Vesuvius said ASMR makes me so angry. I don't get angered by ASMR, but I know plenty of people do. Do you think it's because it tickles them in a way that they're like, that feels like assault? Like, I wasn't ready for that and I didn't consent to it. And I've been hit by something that's a little bit enticing.
I think it's because it's the people who do ASMR are the people that people don't like. It's that if you just played me a clip of the sounds of things being on a microphone, I don't have feelings for that one way or another. Like, if it doesn't trigger the thing in me, then the idea of like rubbing a cotton ball on a microphone, I would just be like, okay, that's just like a heavy sound. But it's as soon as it's like, it's the stuff where they're like, and then they insist that none of this is trying to turn you on. That's where I'm like, it's like, just be honest about what you're doing. It doesn't matter. Like, it does absolutely trigger something in some people that is 100% true. But all of you are just like prattling these long nails on a microphone and like whispering, and it is just like, you can't be both things at the same time. It's okay to be the one thing. Just own it. Just own it. Stop telling me that this is actually some sort of therapy.
Yeah. It belongs on OnlyFans. Vesuvius says, it hits me in a rage trigger place. I hate whispering generally, and it flicks me in the same brain place impatience does.
Do you know what that means? That means they actually are affected by ASMR.
Yeah, I think so.
It's self-loathing at this point because it is triggering something.
Yeah, you can't afford to enjoy it.
Yeah,
because of the amount of simping you'll have to do after you go down the ASMR path.
It's totally true. What is this? Whimsy Bobbin says, the usual ASMR that's popular on YouTube irritates me wildly too. But if someone is drawing me with pencils or I'm getting my hair cut, then those sounds are full ASMR. Interesting. How many times is people drawing you with pencils?
With specifically pencils.
Yeah, that is what a life you live that you constantly sit for portraits.
And on what medium? Does it have to be like a hard paper?
Yeah, and how close are you to these pencils? I couldn't hear a scratching pencil if it was 5 paces away from me.
5 paces. 5 Nick-Boy paces.
Remember paces as opposed to pencils?
Because I wasn't born in the 14th century.
You remember? No, paces. Paces. Like the pencil that you loaded with a lead cartridge.
Oh, yeah.
And it was basically a pen but a pencil.
Yep.
What the fuck was a pacer for? I'm going to look it up. Why did pacers exist?
Mechanical pencils, yeah. Clicky pencils.
Yes, you don't need to sharpen them, so they're always you're always getting the sharpest point, I guess.
But there's always a flimsy point as well. And there's something beautiful about sharpening a pencil. I know it's old school, but it's like the shavings smell nice. And like if you had one of the old big like machine shavers, you could when we worked at when we were at the ABC working on Good Game in like 2014, we moved into a room next to the At the Movies team, and because we were all quite like boisterous and loud and always yelling at each other across the room, and they were very quiet and considered, and they got theirs back by just shaving pencils like for 20 minutes at a time, just staring at us like
you're like you're a movie show. Why do you need so many pencils?
Totally.
All right. Well, that is all the news that you deserve to have on a Monday. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us and hanging out. We hope you have left more informed about a lot of things, not just Pikachu ASMR. And we will be informing you all throughout the week, because tomorrow we have a playback of... Is it Best Friend Forever?
It is Best Friend Forever tomorrow, yes.
It is. That one is coming out tomorrow. And then we have the news again on Wednesday. We'll be back with the show on Thursday. If you can pull yourself away from Cyberpunk long enough to be able to join us. I think, Pete, you're playing Cyberpunk day one, right?
That's a good question. I'm not particularly caught up in the hype.
I know you're not. What if Cyberpunk was a new playable character in Destiny?
Then I'm down.
Yeah.
I am down.
Is Steph still hyped even though Destiny exists?
Yeah. And I mean, like the reason I will play it is because I bought a new video card.
Yeah, totally.
So I have to play it.
I was thinking that we could do a good job of putting everything we need for the show together tomorrow on Wednesday. Yep. So that on Thursday, because it unlocks
from 10 a.m.
on Thursday, we can play. Exactly. We can just get a couple of hours in before, because it would be weird for us to not have played a day playing when we have a show that night. I'm excited, and I'm the same as well. I feel like I've seen most of the game now because of the amount of friggin' Night City radio live wire things that they've done. But that graphics card is, you ready, baby?
Now, are there 3 or 4 different starting zones? Because there's 4 of us. We could.
There's 3. There's the people in the desert. There's the people in the city, and there's the people in the boardroom.
Well, I'm sure between the 3 of you, you'll hit at least 2 of those, and I can take the 3rd because I don't care.
Well, Steph wants to do the corporate one. I'm hoping Gus will want to do Hillbilly. Because
that's him on the inside.
Totally. I initially wanted to do Hillbilly, but then I've gone over to Steph's side, and I think I want to start as a corpo. So then you could take Street Kid.
Yeah, cool.
All right. Well, we'll be back for more on Wednesday morning before you see us live on Thursday evening. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Send in those Patreon dollars at patreon.com/backpocket and become a member of the community. Join our Discord. It's a fun time. Very active. So active I can't really keep up with it. But when I dive in, I'm like a proud parent. I dive in and I just look at all the messages I haven't read, and I'm just like, you go, kids. You guys are doing a fucking great job just chatting to each other. And then occasionally I drop in and I'm like, wow, that F1 race was fucking wild last night. And then 4 people go, I agree.
I can't believe that kid is in the racing car.
Dude,
and everyone's like,
it was heartbreaking. It was a heartbreaking race. It was. There's too much context for me to explain on camera to you, but trust me, as soon as we hang up, I'm giving you the full.
Let's spend an hour going through it.
Good.
We're gonna raid I Am Fall from Grace, who looks like she is dressing her room in Christmas cheer.
Oh, that's nice.
So she needs some help.
Can we let's just wish her a Merry Christmas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice. I was going to say like, oh, the tree would look better over there, but that's the Grinch in me again. Good, yeah. Just Merry Christmas from Back Pocket.
Merry Christmas from Back Pocket. Nice. Let's just do that. Let's be people again. Okay, cool. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for watching and hanging out. Jump on that raid because we are ready to do that raid, and then we'll see you again on Wednesday morning. Pete, coming back out.
Let's back it out.